Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Gail Snyder. I'm the Executive Director for Dementia Friendly Fort Worth, and we are proud to offer this program with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded for future use through a YouTube channel. And today is Cookie Conversations, and I am your host. And we are baking another brand new cookie.
Okay.
So our recipe today is Chocolate Crinkle Cookies. And I mentioned yesterday that I tried this recipe out on Tuesday. And it really is an easy and fabulous tasting cookie. So the recipe is here on your screen. And I will also send this back out by email. But this recipe is from the Complete America's Test Kitchen Cookbook, which is one of my go-to books these days. It's a great big book. And almost every recipe that we've tried, we really have liked. But this recipe is fairly simple. And so I'm going to stop the screen share and we're going to get started with putting our cookies together.
All right.
All right. Can everybody see okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the first thing it wants us to do is put in 1 cup of unbleached flour. And it actually wants us to put this in a separate dish. And then 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. And this is actually Hershey's cocoa powder. I just have it in a different container. Does anybody know about the history of cocoa powder?
No.
No? Okay, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes after we get the cookies going. And then with that, we're also going to put in the baking powder and the baking soda and the salt. So it requires a teaspoon of baking powder. And we certainly don't want to get these two mixed up, right?
No.
That would not be a good idea. So a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And sometimes I reduce my salt just a little bit because we try to keep our salt intake down. And then we're going to add the cocoa powder to that and mix that together. And we're going to set that aside. Now we need 1.5 cups of brown sugar. And brown sugar, what does the recipe always tell you about brown sugar? Almost always.
Pack the cup.
Pack it. Why do you think that is?
To condense it down so you get the full cup.
So you get the full cup because it has a different texture than regular granulated sugar. Now, has anybody made this recipe before?
Not made it, but I've eaten it before.
You've eaten it before?
Yeah. I can't remember where, but I know I've had it somewhere along the way.
Well, when I suggested this one, Patrick jumped right on it. So Patrick, have you had them before?
Several years ago.
Several years ago. Okay. All right. After we put in the brown sugar, then this recipe calls for 3 large eggs. And these are farm fresh eggs. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to whisk that together and add a teaspoon of vanilla. And sometimes I don't measure the vanilla because it never hurts if you get a little extra.
That's right.
I was going to say, hey, you don't look like my grandma.
What's that?
You didn't look like my grandma did it. She just kind of opened that bottle and poured.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she measured very many things.
Yeah. My grandma cooked a lot like that too. All right. So now this mixture is fairly liquidy. You can see that. I want to make sure I'm not missing any steps. Now this recipe, if you remember when it was on the screen, it also called for espresso powder.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have pre-mixed another batch of this because the espresso powder is optional.
Okay.
I have some cookie dough in the refrigerator chilling that already has cocoa powder in it. So I'm not going to put the cocoa powder in this one. The next thing that it wants us to do is to chop 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. And I like the Ghirardelli 70%. It also comes in 60%. So that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to chop this similar to the way we chopped the chocolate that we did for the chocolate chip cookies. Just to chop it up so that we can get it melted. And when it comes to just eating chocolate, I never used to like dark chocolate, but my taste has changed over the years. I have a really good friend who recommended that dark chocolate is better for you than milk chocolate. And I gradually learned to like the taste of dark chocolate, and now I prefer it.
Well, you know, dark chocolate and red wine are 2 heart healthy things.
Yes, I think you told us that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can dip your chocolate into the wine and hey.
There you go.
I like all
Change it to
chocolate.
cookies.
I don't care if it's milk chocolate or dark chocolate. I like all chocolate.
My son took a trip to Spain several years ago, and he brought me back some really fancy chocolates in a special box that were shaped. So I think some of them were shaped like fruit.
Whoa.
Very smooth, delicate chocolate.
Did you ask for a watermelon?
I'm sorry?
Did you ask for fruit like a watermelon?
No.
That way you get a whole bunch.
Then the next thing that we need is 4 teaspoons of butter. And I'm going to melt that in the microwave. And I should have been doing that while I was chopping the chocolate. And in order to get the correct texture of this cookie, we're going to stir this chocolate into the butter once it's melted and make it completely smooth. So I've melted our butter. Now I'm going to add this chocolate to the melted butter. I'm going to stir that together until it becomes smooth. I might have to heat it just a little bit more. Yeah, looks like I'm going to have to heat it just a tiny bit more. And we want to get these smooth, because if we don't get it smooth, we'll actually have chunks of chocolate when the cookie's complete. Because if you'll remember when we did chocolate chip cookies, chocolate chips don't melt completely when they bake in the cookie batter. Okay, so we've got that completely melted. So now we're going to add that to the brown sugar and egg mixture. All right. And then I'm going to add the flour and the cocoa mixture to the wet ingredients and stir that together. You can't get too wild with your stirring because the cocoa powder, it takes a little bit of work to get it incorporated. For some reason, it doesn't easily incorporate. While I was doing the batch earlier, I had a smaller bowl and I stirred too briskly and I splattered cocoa powder and flour all over the counter and all over the rug.
Sounds like something I would do.
So I want you to stir it together until you don't see any streaks of flour and powdered cocoa. Okay, so now can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
It looks a lot like the texture of brownie batter.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of has that same taste too. Okay, so now I'm going to set this aside and retrieve my chilled batter from the refrigerator. Okay, and now what we're going to do, so this batter has been chilling for about 20 minutes. And we need a dish, a shallow dish with powdered sugar. And one with granulated sugar. I think it says about 1/4 of a cup. I want to read you a little bit about what it says about this stage of the recipe. This cookbook has some interesting tips, and it says why this recipe works. The name says it all. These cookies are as much about looks as they are about flavor. Rolled in powdered sugar before going to the oven, chocolate crinkle cookies, also called earthquakes, form dark chocolatey fissures. Does anybody know what that means?
The crevice, cracks.
that break through the bright white surface during the baking. They are eye-catching with an irresistible deep chocolatey richness to back it up, or at least that's how they should be. Too often, these cookies turn out tooth-achingly sweet with just a couple of wide gaping cracks instead of a crackly surface. We wanted the cookie with deep chocolate flavor and only enough sweetness to balance the chocolate's bitterness. A moist and tender, but not gooey interior, and plenty of small, irregular, crinkly fissures breaking through a bright white surface. For the best chocolate flavor, we've used a combination of unsweetened chocolate and cocoa powder, which got an additional flavor boost from the espresso powder. Using brown sugar instead of granulated sugar lent a more complex, tempered sweetness with a bitter molasses edge that complemented the chocolate. The combination of baking powder and baking soda gave the cookies the right amount of lift and spread and contributed to the crackly surface. But the real key was rolling the cookies in granulated sugar before the powdered sugar. This not only helped produce the crackly exterior, but it created a shell that broke into numerous fine fissures as the cookie rose and spread. It also helped the powdered sugar coating stay in place. Finally, we had a chocolate crinkle cookie that lived up to their name. And I can attest that it's true. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cookie scoop, and the recipe did not say to chill this batter, but remember that the sable cookie that we made was very light and hard to work with. This was the same when I tested it. So I cooled it, and now I'm rolling it into the granulated sugar. And then I'm going to roll it in the powdered sugar. Making sure that I completely cover it, and then kind of shake off the extra and put that on the cookie sheet. And this is much better when it's slightly chilled. Chill it too long and it's hard to work with that way, but this works really well. So roll that way. Now we always usually talk about this. What do you think I'm smelling?
Chocolate and butter.
And the butter.
Vanilla.
And the vanilla. So this recipe seems very simple, and it didn't even require using the electric mixer. And I think that they look the best if you can get them almost perfectly round, because when they bake, that's how they come out, if they're perfectly round. I think if we made one in a triangle, when it bakes, it would look like a triangle. It's a little bit sticky, so it sticks to the scoop just a little bit. We'll get just a small batch of these ready, and we'll get it in the oven so we can have time to see what they're going to turn out like.
Yeah, but we can't taste them from here.
Not yet. But as you know, you'll have a package in the mail in a day or two.
Oh, are you serious?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And since it's with this group, the calories don't count.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And this dough is not as chilled as it was when I first got it out of the refrigerator, and now it's not being as cooperative. It's being a little more sticky.
Sounds like a husband.
Okay. I've already preheated the oven to 325. And so we're going to stop there, and I'm going to get these in the oven so they can come out before our time is up. All right, so let me go pop these in the oven. And I believe the recipe says about 12 minutes. So I have set the timer for 10 minutes, and we'll check them at 10 minutes. So now let's talk about the history of cocoa. So I pulled up a site. The history of chocolate can be traced back to the ancient Mayans and even earlier to the ancient Olmecs of southern Mexico. The word chocolate may conjure up images of sweet candy bars and luscious truffles, but the chocolate of today is little like the chocolate of the past. Throughout much of history, chocolate was a revered but bitter beverage, not a sweet edible treat. So have any of you tried the bitter beverage that they're referring to?
No.
No?
No.
Chocolate is made from the fruit of cacao trees, which are native to Central and South America. The fruits are called pods, and each pod contains about 40 cacao beans. The beans are dried and roasted to create cocoa beans. It's unclear exactly when cacao came into the scene or who invented it. According to Hayes Lavis, cultural arts curator for the Smithsonian National Museum of American Indian, ancient Olmec pots and vessels from around 1500 BC were discovered with traces of theobromine, a stimulant compound found in chocolate and tea. It's thought that the Olmecs used cacao to create a ceremonial drink. However, since they kept no written history, opinions differ on if they used cacao beans in their concoctions or just the pulp of the cacao pod. Mayan chocolate. The Olmecs undoubtedly passed their cacao knowledge on to the Central American Mayans, who not only consumed chocolate, they revered it. The Mayan written history mentions chocolate drinks being used in celebrations and to finalize important transactions. Despite chocolate's importance in Mayan culture, it wasn't reserved for the wealthy and the powerful, but readily available to most everyone. In many Mayan households, chocolate was enjoyed with every meal. Mayan chocolate was thick and frothy and often combined with chili peppers, honey, or water. So when they added the honey, what did that do to the chocolate?
Sweeten it.
It sweetened it. The Aztecs took chocolate admiration to another level. They believed cacao was given to them by their gods. Like the Mayans, they enjoyed the caffeinated kick of hot or cold spiced chocolate beverages in ornate containers, but they also used cacao beans as a currency to buy food and other goods. In Aztec culture, cacao beans were considered more valuable than gold. Aztec chocolate was mostly an upper class extravagance, although the lower classes enjoyed it occasionally at weddings or other celebrations. Perhaps the most notorious Aztec chocolate lover of all was the mighty Aztec ruler Montezuma II, who supposedly drank gallons of chocolate each day for energy and as an aphrodisiac. It's also said he reserved some of his cacao beans for his military. Then it talks about Spanish chocolate and chocolate in the American colonies. And then we get to cacao powder. When chocolate first came on the scene in Europe, it was a luxury only the rich could enjoy. But in 1828, Dutch chemist Conrad Jones von Houten discovered a way to treat cacao beans with alkaline salts to make powdered chocolate that was easier to mix with water. The process became known as Dutch processing, and the chocolate produced called cacao powder or Dutch chocolate. Van Houten supposedly also invented the cocoa press, though some reports state his father invented the machine. The cocoa press separated cocoa butter from roasted cocoa beans to inexpensively and easily make cocoa powder, which was used to create a wide variety of delicious chocolate products. Both Dutch chocolate processing and the chocolate press helped to make chocolate affordable for everyone. It also opened the door for chocolate to be mass produced. So it's interesting that in our culture, most people can afford to have some chocolate, but it's considered a dessert.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really sound like they considered it a dessert, but even used it as a form of currency and trade. So, and have any of you had Mexican mole sauce?
No.
Mole enchiladas?
Oh, yes.
Do you like them?
Yes.
You do? I've tried them. It's one of those tastes that I think you have to get used to,
Yes.
because when you first try it, chocolate doesn't go with enchiladas. I love Mexican food, but to me, chocolate doesn't go with enchiladas. I still have only tried fish tacos a couple of times because to me, fish and Mexican food don't go together. But a lot of people love fish tacos.
If they keep that up, they'll have a chocolate sundae enchilada. That would be new and different.
Okay, so we're going to move our camera across the room so we can take a peek at the cookies in the oven. All right, I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Makes you want to cook them just to see how pretty they are.
Yes.
Oh, miniature works of art per cookie.
Yes. So they still have almost 2 minutes on the 10-minute timer with an additional 2 minutes recommended, but we're probably going to take them out just before the 12 minutes because I'm afraid that'll be a little bit too long because we don't want them to get hard. We want them to have that nice outer shell that you can feel break whenever you break the cookie open. So we'll give it just a couple more minutes. So we'll go back over here to our baking center. And I dropped one of my eggshells, so I've got to pick it up out of the floor before I break it in a million pieces. All right. Now I'm going to go back to, if I can, to our picture. Do you think our cookies look anything like that?
They look like it.
Yes.
Yes,
So I would consider that maybe we have a success.
I think so. You did a good job.
So it actually calls for a half a cup of the granulated sugar that you roll them in. And it says 12 cups of, I must have mistyped that. That's a half a cup of confectioner sugar. My recipe says 12 cups, but I know that's not right.
I saw that and I thought, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so I have to make a correction on that. All right. So is there anybody in the group today that does not like the flavor of coffee? Oh, there's our timer. I'm going to reset it for one more minute. So everybody likes coffee flavor? Okay, well, I'm not a coffee drinker, although I'm starting to like the flavor of coffee, but I think coffee tastes like dirt if it's just straight coffee. My husband's been trying to teach me to drink coffee for over 30 years, and he's very disappointed. He has not been successful. But so in the package that you receive, you will have some with espresso powder and some without. So you can try both kinds to see which flavor you like the best.
Right. Look forward to it.
I'm going to be sitting under my mailbox waiting for this package to
I
arrive.
think so. All right, there's that timer. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera back around again.
Those look good.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them cool just a minute, and then I'll move them to the cooling rack. And then once they're completely cool, I can start packaging them. So you can see these two. Can you see these two here?
Yes.
To me, the smaller one is a little more eye appealing.
Yes.
So whenever you do these, you don't want the scoop completely full, because the smaller, about 1.5 inches in diameter cookie looks better than the great big one.
Yeah, but you get more with the big one.
That's true, but then you get less number of cookies with the batch.
Yeah, but you get the same calories.
Okay, so now I want you to see, I've picked up the small one. It's still warm. And the outer texture breaks just a little bit. Once they cool, you can really feel that outer shell break from the granulated sugar that kind of melted and created a shell coating on the outside of the cookie. And of course, you need to have a napkin in your lap or be holding over a plate, because the powdered sugar does fall off when you start to eat it.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. But
Yeah.
don't wear black or navy blue and plan to eat them in the car or go somewhere, because you'll have a tough time getting the powdered sugar off.
You get to lick your fingers.
Yes, but in the world we live in right now, if other people see you lick your fingers, they're not going to appreciate that at all.
Well, as long as you have a bottle of
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizer, after you lick them, then put the hand sanitizer on.
So I think our cookies turned out real nicely.
Oh,
And I
I'll sit under my mailbox and wait.
what's that, Paulette?
I said, I'm going to go sit under my mailbox and wait for the arrival.
Well, I wouldn't sit there today because they're not in the mail yet.
Yeah, well, you never know.
But you could sit there tomorrow.
Sometimes they come on Friday and sometimes they come on Monday. So,
Right. But they could come on Saturday too.
yep,
'Cause
sometimes.
This is Thursday. So you have a good chance of getting them either Friday or Saturday.
Yay.
Yay.
And they'll all be gone by Monday.
And they'll all be
No,
gone. No, you
no,
all are
no.
really good about saving them. And it helps putting them in the little baggies. So you only open one baggie at a time.
At a time. That's right.
So I should only put 2 in a baggie, huh?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, it's fine.
All right.
I put
Well,
several
it's-
baggies in the box.
What's that?
Put several baggies in the box.
Yes. Well, I usually put a couple in each baggie.
Yep.
And put several of those in the box. So before we close, let me share my slides with you again. There's our information about the Dutch cocoa. And tomorrow is Texas Wednesday, and we have Buddy Bray, who will be doing a solo piano for us tomorrow. And I've been in contact with him by email, and I think he'll be bringing selections from a variety of genres. So don't miss tomorrow at 10:30.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
All right.
All
Okay,
right.
It's Texas. Okay. Hi.
Oh, do you want me to put that back up, Paulette?
What?
Do you want me to
no,
put that?
I was just going to say, I thought tomorrow was Friday and you would say his Texas Wednesday, so I was getting confused.
So right now, Texas Wins is usually on Fridays.
Oh, Texas wins.
That's why
Okay.
we
I thought you said
moved-
Texas Wednesday.
That's why we moved Cookie Conversations to Thursdays.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right.
Yummy.
So y'all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You do a great job. Love it.
Thank you.